Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on any purchase over $10. See the description below for details. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and it's another day of Ravnica Allegiance previews. Wizards of the Coast showcased a few cards today. We finally got to see the Azorius mechanic Addendum on a couple of those cards. We'll be digging into that. And at the end of the video, we're going to check out some Planeswalker deck leaks that occurred as well. Quickly before we get started though, just a fast reminder, if you check out the description below, you'll find a few ways to support the channel. One of which is our Patreon page. You're also going to find links to products on Amazon down below. If you make any purchases on Amazon, once you go through the initial link, we'll get a small percentage for the channel. Finally, Flipside Gaming still offering a promo code for our viewers. Hopefully you can save a little cash while you support us. And as always, thank you not only to the folks that look at those links, but to each and every one of you. Y'all make the channel what it is, and I appreciate you all. So let's get into it. We got our first look at the Ravnica Allegiance Store Championship playmat featuring Domri Raid, as you see here. And we also got our first look at the Ravnica Allegiance preview pack for Azorius. Now that's all 5 of them that have been revealed. And let's get into the cards. We're going to begin with a couple cards that have that addendum mechanic. The first one is Sphinx's Insight. This is going to cost you a blue, a white, and 2. It's an instant common. Draw 2 cards. Addendum. If you cast this spell during your main phase, you gain 2 life. And that's basically what Addendum does. It's relatively simple. If you cast the spell on one of your main phases, you get a bonus. In this case, it's 2 life, but we're going to see a card that does something different in a moment, so it could be probably almost anything. Now, the thing you have to remember about this, if this is countered, then I don't get the Addendum either. That can be a little confusing the way it's worded, but they did make that very clear, that the Addendum is part of the resolution. It's all or nothing. Now, before I move into the card itself, I just want to give my thoughts on Addendum quickly. I think it's a cool mechanic. I like the level of depth that it adds. If a card mechanic is going to make me rethink how I usually play a card, I find that interesting. Instants, or maybe other spells that have flash, typically I'm going to play them 9 times out of 10 at the end of my opponent's turn, whether I'm trying to disrupt something they're doing, or maybe I'm just holding back mana in case I need it for something else, or maybe I'm just trying to bluff. Now, there are exceptions to that rule, like a card like this. Maybe I need to draw cards and try to hit a land drop on my turn or something. That could happen. But for the most part, 99% of the time, you find yourself playing this on your opponent's turn. Well, Addendum kind of mixes that up a little bit, right? So now I start to think, do I want that Addendum effect? This card might not be the best example of that because gaining 2 life isn't really that big of a deal. But like I said, there are different effects, and if the effect is good enough, it might make me rethink how I typically play. And I think that's pretty cool. Now, aside from that, is this card any good? It's okay and limited. You might even have better card draw spells. Who knows? We have a lot of the set to see. But if you don't, this is a fine card draw spell. It's going to help you move through your deck. It's an instant, and if you need to gain life, if you're up against an aggro deck like Rakdos or something like that, then that could be relevant too. So I could see myself running it probably a good portion of the time, at least 1 copy in a deck if I'm in these colors and I happen to get it. Aside from that, though, I think it's a little too expensive for standard. Emergency Powers. This is a mythic. It's going to cost you a blue, a white, and 5 instant. Each player shuffles their hand and graveyard into their library, then draws 7 cards. Exile Emergency Powers. Addendum. If you cast the spell during your main phase, you may put a permanent card with converted mana cost 7 or less from your hand onto the battlefield. Alright, let's talk about this one. So basically, you got a Time Twister effect for 7. That's not cheap, but it is an instant, or you play it on your own turn and you get to put something directly from your hand to the battlefield, as long as you have a permanent that meets the requirement of 7 or less. So the first thing I want to say is sometimes I think people misunderstand Time Twister effects. They know Time Twister is part of the Power 9, so they say, wow, Time Twister effects must always be amazing. No, they're not always amazing. This one is pretty good, though. Here's what makes it better than some of the others. If you Time Twister, you want to be able to get ahead of your opponent by being able to play things the same turn you Time Twister. That's why Time Twister was good, because it only costs 3. Now, when you're talking 7, if it's an instant, that's kind of nice, because now I can wait till my opponent's turn. At the end of their turn, I play this, and I get first crack at playing my cards before they get to play their cards. That's how you want that to work. Or if I have to use it on my turn, I'm hoping I hit a permanent 7 or less that can go into play that is going to be relevant. Time Spiral is another example of a good Time Twister effect, and this card reminds me of that a little bit. If I Time Spiral, I can untap the lands then, and I still have the ability to make a play. This is doing something similar, hopefully giving you the ability to make a play, but it's a little more high variance, of course, in this case. The other thing to consider is if I'm in Azorius colors, shouldn't I already be drawing a lot of cards that have card advantage over my opponent? This gives me potentially more card advantage, but it also gives them more cards to look at, which could help them catch up if they draw into the right things. So that is a consideration. I don't think you just throw this into an Azorius or Jeskai control build. I don't know if that's the deck that wants this. I think the deck that would want this is something that wants to see a lot of its cards for a combo. Nexus decks might be a candidate for that. I'd want to at least test it there. It might be good in Bant or Jeskai Nexus, perhaps in Standard, or another deck like that. If a combo deck comes along where you're going to want to see a lot of your deck quickly, then this might actually work out in Standard. In Limited, I think this will be a good card for you as long as you play it at the right time. Again, if you're ahead, it might not be a great draw, but that's fine because if you're behind, this really could catch you up big time in a game of Sealed or Draft. So I think it's really good there. And of course, in Commander, there's a lot of reasons to play a card like this. If you want to move through your deck quicker, or there's other cards that give you advantage from drawing or having your opponents draw or what have you. There's just a lot of different strategies that this will fall into. Not to mention, it's just a fun card generally. Finally, the last thing I want to say about this card, it is a Story Spotlight card. And it appears that maybe Dovin's trying to communicate with or summon Nicol Bolas or something along those lines. Kind of interesting. I like the art there. Okay, Wizards also showed a hybrid mana split card today. It's actually a pretty good one. Incubation and Incongruity. Let's look at Incubation first. It's going to cost you a green or blue. Sorcery. This card is uncommon. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card from among them, put it into your hand, put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So, nothing crazy here. It feels more of a green effect than anything to me, but it's just fine for 1 mana, even at sorcery speed. If I'm trying to hit a creature, this is going to hopefully help me go a little deeper in my deck and find a creature that I need for board presence. Nothing wrong with that. Incongruity, though, is the interesting part of this card. Blue, green, 1 instant. Exile target creature. That creature's controller creates a 3/3 green frog lizard creature token. Now, you can use this on your own creatures as well as your opponent's creatures. Of course, keep that in mind because this is a combat trick too. If I have a 1/1 creature or a tapped creature and my opponent attacks in, I play this on my own thing. I get a 3/3. I block with it. They don't see that coming. That's kind of cool, especially in these colors. However, most of the time, you're going to want to hit your opponent's stuff, especially those hard to deal with creatures. And I think that's a good segue into Standard here. This sees Standard play. Why? Because of cards like Arclight Phoenix. Because of cards like Rekindling Phoenix. We see these type of exile effects in black. But this is Simic colors. You don't find this type of thing in these colors very often. This is huge for decks in these colors that want to do better in Standard right now. So I do think you look back at decks like Merfolk. Merfolk almost got there, couldn't quite get there. I said that the other day when we saw Zagana. Maybe cards like Zagana help, but this is the card. If any card is going to help, this is the one right here. Just simply because I played that Merfolk deck. How many times did I die to Rekindling Phoenix? This completely changes the game. Instant speed, 3 casting costs, exile target creature. Sure, it gives them a 3/3 on the ground, but who cares at that point? You're getting rid of the persistent win condition that is going to take you out. This is an amazing card. It sees Standard play, maybe in the Merfolk deck, maybe in some other build, but it will be there, I have no doubt. It opens up Standard quite a bit to these colors. Red, black, we know what they have for removal. They've been very strong recently, right? However, now green and blue have a tool at their disposal that makes them more competitive in this environment. That's pretty amazing. Limited in Draft, this is a first pickable uncommon. Sure, the one side is gold, but I don't care about that. The card is just too good. Even if I don't end up in Simic colors, maybe I'm in green, maybe I'm in blue, I can splash the other one. This card is too good to pass up, I think, most of the time, unless there's a really amazing rare in your pack. You'll be happy to see this in your pool for Sealed or Draft. Okay, let's move on to the leaks that occurred today regarding the Planeswalker deck cards. Okay, bear with me here. This leak is in Russian, and some of the cards are obscured. As you can see here, you can't see everything necessarily, but I put together as much as I could see, and we got most of it. So you have 3, what I assume to be exclusive cards from each of the 2 Planeswalker decks. Just a reminder, though, exclusive Planeswalker deck cards are usually power level-wise relatively weak, but they are technically legal in Standard, even if they're not in packs of Ravnica Allegiance. So my assumption is the 6 cards you're seeing here are all going to be exclusive to the Planeswalker decks, 3 from each. There might be others that aren't pictured here as well, though. Okay, here's a look at the 3 from the Dovin deck. And here's the 3 in the Domri deck. Let's look at Dovin first. Okay, I don't know the full name here. It's Dovin something or another. 5 loyalty, designated as a mythic rare. Blue, white, and 4, legendary Planeswalker Dovin. +1, you gain 2 life and draw a card. -1, tap target creature. That creature does not untap during their controller's next untap step. -9, tap all permanents target opponent controls. That player skips their next untap step. So ultimately, if you look at the 3 pieces here, they don't seem bad. Like the first one, +1, gain 2 life, draw a card. I always like drawing cards. Nothing wrong with that. -1, tap target creature. It stays tapped for an extra turn. Okay. It's going to help me stay aggressive or protect myself. I like that. Also protects the Planeswalker. That's cool. -9. Well, I hate to evaluate these cards on ultimates, especially this one. It's going to take you a little time to get to -9. Hopefully you have enough things on board to win the game at that point, but it doesn't guarantee it either. Yeah, this looks like a fine Planeswalker, but then you look at the casting cost. 6 is just too much for standard, and that's the common thread with all these cards. Sometimes they do design some pretty cool cards, but they just cost them in such a way that you're not going to want to play them in standard. Maybe I play some kitchen table magic with this or throw it in a commander deck or cube. I could have fun with it, definitely, but you're not going to see it in competitive formats. Okay, the next card, we couldn't make out the name. This does appear to be designated as a rare. Blue, white, and 2, it's an instant. Put target tapped creature on top of its controller's library. You may search your library and or graveyard for a card named Dovin, the one we just saw a few moments ago. Reveal it and put it into your hand. If you searched your library this way, shuffle it. Alright, so this is the card that lets you get to Dovin. These Planeswalker decks are not a lot of fun typically if you don't get to play with the Planeswalker, so they usually throw in a card like this. Forecasting cost, it has some versatility. I mean, you can play it on your own tapped creature if it's going to be destroyed and you want to save it. Or you could just tempo your opponent with this and put one of their creatures back on top of the library if it's tapped. And simply, searching up the Dovin will be good if you have the Dovin in your deck, and for that reason, I don't think you're going to play this in Standard, because I don't think you're going to have the Dovin in your deck there. But if you're playing some kitchen table magic, or playing with the deck, maybe a commander deck even perhaps, then sure, if I have the new Dovin in my deck, then I will most likely run this. And the last one from the Dovin deck most likely is uncommon. Can't really make out the name, and unfortunately the power and toughness is obscured. But here's what we know. Forecasting cost, artifact creature, homunculus. If you control a Dovin Planeswalker, this time any of them, this creature gets +2/+2 and vigilance. So if it's a 10/10, this card is amazing. But it's not a 10/10. It's probably a 3/3. Maybe it's even a 2/2. I don't know. If we're lucky, it's a 4/4. But we know this card's not being pushed considering it's a Planeswalker deck exclusive, so kinda is what it is. Again, in casual magic or within this deck, it will be fine. Alright, here is the Domri Planeswalker deck Planeswalker. Unfortunately, again, we don't know the full name here. 4 loyalty, designated as a mythic rare. Green, red 4, legendary Planeswalker Domri. +2, creatures you control get +1/+1 in haste until end of turn. -3, this Domri deals 3 damage to any target. -8, put 3 +1/+1 counters on each creature you control. Those creatures gain trample till end of turn. So again, it doesn't sound bad, right? Like a +2 loyalty. That's pretty good. Creatures you control get +1/+1 in haste till end of turn. So whatever I play gets haste. I can just keep getting aggressive. That's great for Gruul. -3, 3 damage to any target, even to the face. Okay, I like that versatility. It's a big chunk of loyalty, but it's kind of nice to be able to do that. -8. A little conditional on board state, but it could close the door on the game if I have enough creatures in play. That's kind of cool, and actually makes sense for these colors, right? But ultimately, you go back to the casting cost of 6, just too expensive for standard. Fun casual card, though, no doubt. Okay, here's another one where we are unsure of the name. It's a red and 4, we think. Now, if you looked at that earlier photo, the 4 was a little fuzzy. I'm guessing it's a 4. It looks like it might be, but I'm not 100%. It's a sorcery, designated as a common. This will deal 3 damage to each creature. Not bad. I mean, we've seen cards like this before cheaper, but this particular card out of the Planeswalker deck I think will be pretty good. I mean, Gruul colors are most likely running a lot of larger creatures. This might feel like a one-sided board sweep some of the time. Yeah, it makes sense in this product. Nothing crazy, but it's a solid card. Okay, let's move on to the last card in the Domri deck here. Unfortunately, we don't know the power toughness or the name. It does appear to be designated as a rare. Green, red, and 3, it is a beast with trample. And when this enters the battlefield, you may search your library and or graveyard for a card named Domri, the one that's actually included in this product. Reveal it and put it into your hand. If you search your library this way, shuffle it. Okay, nothing too surprising here. The Domri deck card that's going to let you search up the Domri is, of course, a creature. Yeah, that makes sense. Also has trample. So again, if you have the Domri in your deck for some reason, this is a good card. If you don't, it's probably not all that exciting. I'm assuming the power toughness is probably like 3/3 or something along those lines, considering it does have trample. Not bad ultimately, just in a casual game of Magic, but again, nothing crazy. Okay, that's what we got for you today. Now tomorrow we're going to be back with our Magic the Gathering Market Watch. I hope to see you then. But until next time, hey, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible through the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page, as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.